Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad FAIRUZ IZWAN bin paizeo. My matric number is 2022696608. I'm from class SR1132C.
The cardiovascular system, also known as the circulatory system, is the transportation system of the body. The major structures that make this possible are the heart, blood vessels, and blood. Simply put, the heart pumps the blood in order to move nutrients through the blood vessels to nourish and to remove metabolic waste from the body. The purpose of this video is to present about the cardiovascular system.
They have 5 functions of cardiovascular system. The first is circulates oxygen and remove carbon dioxide. The second is provides cells with nutrients. The third is remove the waste product of metabolism to the excretory organ for disposal. The fourth is protects the body against disease and infection. The last is clotting, stops bleeding after injury. The next is blood flow in cardiovascular system. We start with the deoxygenated blood, returning to the heart via the inferior vena cava and the superior vena cava. This blood empties into the right atrium, then contract the blood through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. The right ventricle then contracts, injecting that blood through the pulmonic valve into the pulmonary artery. The blood then travels to the lungs and returns back from the lungs via the pulmonary veins, which then empty into the left atrium. The left atrium contracts the blood through the mitral valve into the left ventricle. The left ventricle then contracts, injecting that blood through the aortic valve to the aorta and onto the rest of the body.
So the next is cardiovascular disease. So the first and the most common is the coronary artery disease, also known as ischemic. Ischemic heart disease, and it is where we have poor blood flow to the heart. And here we have the heart, and the heart is supplied by the blood by vessels called the coronary arteries. But if we have a plaque as a result of atherosclerosis, for example, we have decreased blood flow to the heart tissue, and if we get no blood flow, it can lead acute myocardial infarction, and this is where we have necrosis of the myocardial tissue caused by lack of oxygenation and blood flow. And as I mentioned, acute myocardial infarction is a result of an occluded coronary artery. So coronary artery disease is associated with angina, which occurs when there is a temporary loss of blood supply to the heart, and this causes chest pain. There are two types of angina, stable angina and unstable angina. Stable angina is where we have a stable plot, and chest pain comes about upon exertion. So exercising, then there is unstable angina, which is a result of a hemodynamically unstable plaque, and we have thrombosis involved. A heart attack occurs when the heart blood vessels is suddenly blocked, and this is life-threatening and leads the myocardial infarction as mentioned. The second cardiovascular disease, we will look at this congenital heart disease, which are disorders of the heart of the central blood vessel that is present at birth. The congenital heart disease are actually the leading cause of death. In the first year of life, we will look at 5 main ones pattern. Foramen ovale is where the foramen vale does not close, resulting in a left to right shunt pattern. Ductus anteriosus is where the ductus anteriosus does not close, cause it resulting in a left to right shunt as well between the aorta and pulmonary artery. Cooptation of the aorta is another congenital heart disease. Transposition of the gray vessels is where both of the foramen vale and pattern ductus do not
close. And the final congenital heart disease we will mention is tetralogy of Pitalo, which is composed of 4 tetra things. These are the right ventricular hypertrophy, the ventricular septal defect pulmonaris, stenosis, and the overriding aorta. So all these 4 represent a tetralogy of Falla. The conclusion is the heart pumps the blood to the body through arteries which branch off into smaller blood vessels called arterioles. The network of capillaries is where oxygen and other nutrients diffuse from the blood and into the cells. Metabolic waste is diffused into the venous capillaries from the cell. So that's all from me. Thank you.